All right, I'll get straight into it. I'll walk you through what has been happening, or mainly today. So I've read this chapter from Adyashanti's book, Emptiness Dancing, the chapter on control, and it essentially said that, at the very, very core of things is this issue of control. And a spiritually free being is one that really has fundamentally, at his core, let go of control. And this is really the important thing. People can have big realizations, but they're still holding on to one thing or another, and this is what's keeping them bounded. What I really liked was this emphasis on uh, like a core mutation, because that was really what I was feeling like it would require. And it was like, in general, this chapter is something that has resonated with me a lot. And so I reread it recently, and I was looking into it. It's like, how in the world would it be possible to let go of control? And I also got into a bit of a mood, bit of, you know, I can be like more or less rebellious, and in this case, I was very much interested in, seeing how it would be to let go of control. Maybe before I was more fighting against it, I was like, no, I really don't like it. But here I was like, okay, let me go into it. But then what I mean is that there's this like impenetrable wall, this contraction that really does not uh, talk at all. It seems to not talk at all. It seems impossible to get through. But I had a little bit of a chance to talk to it. And it was by, making a simulation in my head of, a certain situation that would be provoking, and seeing how I could react, how it would be without control. And thinking about that more, like, how can I distill this down? How can I really, uh, make it more visceral for myself? And what I found, and this is, like, was a fantastic revelation, was that being honest to the fullest extent really works amazingly well. You have, because essentially, when you're not honest, it's like there's a game of manipulation being played. You're trying to put things in the right place, so that maybe you could avoid something, or something. You're trying to like sort of skirt your way out of it. Here you have to be very direct, and I would say honesty. You could say it as the alignment of inner and outer, where your actions are aligned with your inner like beliefs and understanding of how things work. So I mean it in that sense. So it doesn't mean that if I see someone who's got a big nose and I can't stop thinking about it, you're not going to say, oh, you've got a really really big nose and I cannot stop thinking about it. Of course, that's not what you want to say, and that's actually totally fine. Like there's no mystery about it. What happens is that you actually don't want to say that. So it doesn't feel at all in conflict to not bring that up. You'll be like, I've been thinking about it, but it's not something I want to say. Boom, okay, that's totally done. And another way that my definition, like, is an improvement or it helps is with, say for me, I'm in university now, just starting the term, and I've got work. There's an honesty there about um, well, you know, how do I don't quite understand this, but it's an honesty about actually doing the work. I could think about that a bit more, but there's something there where, you can trick yourself into thinking, oh, it's fine, or something about it. I just know that when I was honest, when I was really trying to be honest, it was like, okay, and you're going to work. And this was like fantastic. It triggered me in all kinds of ways. I was all, fussed up and messed up. And it's actually, it was in a way that was something I recognized. I had done a similar thing before. I had tried to live in the same idea of triggering things, that there's like something to work with. I tried to live vaguely in a Zen way. So I had some things that I had to do, like only do one thing at a time. Uh, no, don't listen to music as soothing. This and this and this. And I did it for only a couple days. But back then, and also today, I ran into the same problem, which is that there is a sense, like, there's a way in which at the end it doesn't work. There is, and I thought about this, and it's like, is a sense of loneliness, a sense of separation where, okay, you can do the right things, you can be honest, you can do this, and maybe you'll feel good, or it'll be nice. It can be quite quick, the effects of it. It's still hard, but you get stuff in return. But I guess, so what I had was a sense of separation, real loneliness, and you feel like, okay, I'm doing all the right things, and I guess it's nice, it's correct, it looks nice on the outside, but I guess I feel nice, but I'm still lonely, and I guess still unsatisfied. And then there's a question of, like, say, putting it in the language of, there's God, and getting in touch with the love of God. If you're not honest, if you don't do these things, are you then just unworthy of love? What happens then? And that seems incorrect based on what other people are saying, and based on what would, be actually really interesting. And yeah, I then looked into it from that perspective a bit more. And it was interesting, I was doing the same sort of thoughts and probing and inquiry as I usually do, but this time I had a much different, it went very differently. I think the context of all that I've shared just now was very useful for that. And yeah, I guess this thing about, this external God, or like this emphasis that, yeah, okay. So, right, so I had this idea that was not that, okay, I'll just say something and it's not quite correct, it doesn't quite work, but just to get the idea across. It's not that God is you know, withholding their love from you only if you do, and you have to do these sort of things to get it. It is more that you are walking away from it. You're deciding that other things are worth it instead. Now, that doesn't. Wait. I sort of forgot what I was going to say. But in a way, all of that places the honesty and the action too much at the center. And really, what was important, and I was thinking, no, like I still don't accept it. This like conditional love, I don't like it. And so then that really brought me back to exactly where I am, exactly myself. That is the only place that something magnificent could happen. That was like unconditional, because I was actually always there. I actually had to find something. If it was unconditional, it would have to be already there, so I'd actually have to find something. And now, you still recover the honesty being helpful, because it's, as I said before, this alignment of inner and outer. And if there's a disalignment, you sort of have to have a controller that is monitoring things and making sure that things are working as they should. If you're trying to control things, you have to have someone that is controlling and making sure that everything's going fine. And in that case, it's very important to have your attributes, to know who you are, to know where you stand, etc., etc. If there isn't really anything at stake, then it doesn't really matter if you're this or if you're that. Your identity doesn't hold much. And so, when you're controlling, this is a way in which you're not, in some way, you're walking away from the love. Not quite obviously, and I could think about that a bit more. I guess what's important, well, I think that makes sense. Just to reiterate, yourself at the very center. That has to be important, because there's this thing that can, I had this block. It was intractable, it wasn't saying anything. But then, as I sort of measured it, as I tested it, as I put it into action, as I said, oh, in the next conversation I'll have, I'll be totally honest. In the next action I'll have, I'll be totally honest. Okay, that's where the rubber hits the road, and that's where it can get some interesting things happen. But then there's a tendency for that to end up being the goal, for the measurement to be the goal. It's like the exam is what people are studying for. People aren't really studying to get more knowledge. The exam is there to test your knowledge. You're supposed to be wanting good knowledge and then have an exam that tests you on it. But no, people shortcut it. And in this case, the similar thing happened. And really understanding well what purpose it has and how it works can be very interesting, can be very useful. And especially how immediately it really is serving this reunion. It's fantastic. I mean, this is just me a couple of minutes ago, wrapping all of this up. maybe I spoke with a bit too much confidence and a bit too much as if I know what I'm talking about. Apologize for that. Uh, but it's exciting stuff and it seems to work pretty well. Alright, take care.